When Elena felt her daughter's tiny fingers tremble against her palm inside that crowded diner, she knew she had reached the absolute end of her endurance. For 4 agonizing months, she had been running from the cruelty of her late husband's wealthy family, carrying nothing but a cracked suitcase, 38 cents, and the shattered dignity of a mother who had lost everything. Her late husband's arrogant brother, Arthur Vance, had forged the estate documents the week after the funeral, throwing Elena and 4-year-old Clara into the street, sneering that nobody would ever believe a penniless widow over a powerful businessman. Now, on a bitter December morning in coastal Maine, Elena stood near the diner entrance, her breath misting in the frigid air blowing through the door. Her battered wagon had died in a snowbank 3 miles back, and she had carried Clara through the freezing wind simply to keep the child from hypothermia. The rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee, sizzling butter, and warm pancakes filled the diner, wrapping around the room like a reminder of a life they could no longer touch. Elena did not enter to buy food. She only wanted 5 minutes of shelter before someone threw them back into the blizzard. Clara stood quietly in her faded wool coat, her cheeks flushed scarlet from the biting wind, her wide green eyes gazing around the brightly lit room. She did not whine or complain, because at 4, she had learned what hunger felt like. As Elena adjusted Clara's thin scarf, the little girl's eyes drifted toward a booth near the frosted bay window. Sitting alone was an older gentleman with silvering hair, wearing a charcoal wool overcoat and a tailored suit. His name was Marcus Sterling, a retired federal magistrate who had spent 4 decades dispensing justice in high-stakes courtrooms, but was now quietly nursing his own private grief after losing his daughter. Marcus sat motionless, staring absently at his steaming plate of scrambled eggs, country ham, and golden hash browns. The diner around him was loud with cheerful morning conversation, yet he remained in his own world of silent sorrow. He only looked up when he felt the persistent, gentle gaze of a child. Clara was staring intently at his plate, her lips slightly parted, swallowing quietly as the steam rose into the air. There was no demand in the child's eyes, only the raw, heartbreaking innocence of an empty stomach. Elena gasped when she noticed where Clara was looking. Terror and humiliation rushed through her veins like ice water. She had spent months enduring the mocking insults of Arthur, and the last thing she could bear was being treated as a beggar by another wealthy stranger. Pulling Clara's hand, Elena whispered for her to turn around, keeping her head low as she hurried toward the exit, desperate to vanish into the howling snow before anyone could humiliate them. Elena was 3 inches from the frosted glass door when a deep, calm voice cut through the diner's noise. The waitress stepped into the aisle with 2 warm menus in hand, smiling softly as she explained that the gentleman by the window insisted on buying breakfast for both of them. Elena froze in place, her face burning with conflicting waves of pride, shame, and maternal desperation. She wanted to refuse, but seeing Clara shivering uncontrollably, her stomach grumbling beneath the thin fabric of her coat, Elena swallowed her pride and turned back. Marcus rose slightly from his seat, offering a respectful, solemn nod that contained neither pity nor condescension. He gestured toward the comfortable red vinyl booth opposite him and asked them to join him. When the waitress brought a massive platter of fluffy pancakes, crisp bacon, and warm milk, Clara let out a tiny gasp of delight. For the first time in months, Elena watched her daughter smile, a pure and fragile expression that brought immediate tears to her eyes. Elena turned her head toward the window, quietly wiping away a tear, but Marcus noticed every detail: the blistered hands of a working mother, the worn-out soles of their winter boots, and the quiet dignity Elena fought so hard to maintain. As Clara ate with quiet gratitude, Marcus engaged Elena in gentle conversation, speaking with the patient discernment of a seasoned judge. He did not pry aggressively, but his steady kindness opened a door Elena had kept locked for months. She quietly explained how her husband had passed away suddenly in an industrial accident, and how her brother-in-law Arthur had exploited her grief to seize the family engineering firm, altering trust agreements and leaving her without a single penny. When Elena mentioned the name Arthur Vance, Marcus set his coffee cup down, his sharp gray eyes narrowing with intense recognition. For 2 years, federal investigators had looked into Arthur Vance for corporate embezzlement and fraudulent property seizures, but Arthur's high-priced attorneys had managed to conceal the paper trail. Marcus realized that the crucial missing evidence lay within the private family archives and original inheritance deeds that Arthur had unlawfully seized from Elena's home. What Arthur believed was an easy victory against a defenseless widow was about to become his ultimate downfall. Marcus did not reveal his full plan right away. Instead, he quietly settled the diner bill and accompanied Elena to her stalled vehicle. Without making grand promises, he arranged for a tow truck to transport their car to a local garage and drove Elena and Clara to his private estate just outside town. He provided them with a warm, fully furnished guest cottage on the property, complete with a roaring fireplace, warm clothes, and a kitchen stocked with groceries. That night, as Clara slept peacefully under thick down blankets for the first time in months, Elena sat by the window and wept tears of relief. Over the next 3 weeks, Marcus worked tirelessly behind closed doors. Utilizing his vast legal network and intimate knowledge of state corporate law, he petitioned an emergency judicial review of the Vance family estate. He gathered original digitized records of Elena's late husband, uncovering incontrovertible proof that Arthur had fabricated signatures, forged probate deeds, and illegally drained trust accounts meant for Clara's welfare. Marcus also discovered that Arthur had concealed a major industrial patent worth millions, which rightfully belonged entirely to Elena and her daughter. On a freezing Monday morning in the state superior courtroom, Arthur Vance arrived with his entourage of smug attorneys, expecting another routine settlement hearing. He wore an expensive tailored suit and an arrogant smirk, utterly convinced that his wealth made him untouchable. But the moment the courtroom doors opened and Marcus Sterling walked in as Elena's lead legal counsel, the color completely drained from Arthur's face. Marcus laid out a devastating ironclad case before the presiding judge. With razor-sharp precision, he presented forensic financial audits, sworn testimonies from original notary witnesses who had been bribed, and bank records demonstrating millions of dollars funneled into offshore accounts. When Arthur's attorneys attempted to object, the judge silenced them with a stern gavel strike, reviewing the undeniable paper trail with visible outrage. The court immediately revoked all forged documents, froze Arthur's assets, and transferred full legal ownership of the company and family estate back to Elena. Furthermore, the judge referred Arthur directly to federal prosecutors for grand larceny, forgery, and witness tampering, resulting in his immediate arrest in the hallway. 2 months later, the bitter cold of winter gave way to the vibrant colors of early spring. Elena and Clara stood in the sunlit garden of their restored home, listening to the gentle breeze rustling through the pine trees. Elena had revitalized the family business, ensuring fair wages and honest management, while Clara laughed freely as she played on the grass with a golden retriever puppy. That Sunday morning, they drove back to the familiar diner on the coast where their lives had changed forever. Sitting in the very same corner booth, Clara held up a colorful crayon drawing of 3 figures standing hand in hand, handing it proudly across the table to Marcus. As Marcus accepted the drawing with a warm smile, Elena looked out across the sparkling ocean, knowing that true justice does not always announce itself with loud threats. Sometimes, the most powerful retribution is delivered through quiet courage, an unexpected act of compassion, and the unyielding strength of a mother who refused to surrender.